any more introduction, Father Tom? It's all yours. 6 minutes and 20 seconds.
That's right. It's like a little race we have going. And I feel very honored to be following Dick Langdon because I grew up in a house that was owned by Isham Randolph, who we probably know because he was very involved in that the Canal. And something about Isham that will tie into it, I think, is that spirit of what faith brings to affecting history. Isham Randolph not only was a great engineer, but he was also a mover and shaker in Chicagoland history. And he's little known, he had a meeting with Al Capone. He was part of the Secret Six. And he went to talk to Al Capone to try to talk him out of his campaign of violence throughout Chicago. And his wife said, "You're going where?" Anyways, so jumping ahead, the church that I come from, St. James of the Sag, was started by the same priest who started the first and oldest church in the Chicagoland area, right outside of Fort Dearborn, downtown Chicago, Father Irenaeus Saint-Cyr. He was a French priest born in Lyon, France, and became a priest in St. Louis. And his first assignment after being ordained was to go north and to establish churches up in the Chicago area. Of course, Chicago was. That's a picture of the first old St. Mary's Church, which is still in existence, but the church is moved 3 times, destroyed in the Chicago fire, and is now in South Wabash. So our first church at St. James may look something like that if we built another church. That first Mass was in May of 1833, and our first Mass was in October of 1833. This is part of our little church. We've had little historical reenactment type things. Canal Day days just to get people to come out to the church and to interest people in history. I forget what he was talking about at the time. You might recognize this guy, Abraham Lincoln. I claim there's a connection with our church with Abraham Lincoln. That priest, Father Irenaeus Saint-Cyr, in his later memoirs, was writing to his bishop back in St. Louis, and the bishop asked him in the 1880s, "Did you ever meet our former slain president, Abraham Lincoln?" And he said, "Yes, I had several occasions to have Mass with the Lincolns, but the little Abraham was not much interested in our faith, though his parents were devout Catholics." I was very amazed to find that out. This is I think I saw this too. This is where the church is, on the little island that is called Mount Forest Island, and our church is right at the tip of that area. We think that it was an old fur trading location, and it was a great place to build a church, especially as the canal was being built. It really moved fast. I threw this one in because that's the Trail of Tears of the Potawatomi Indians, or they sometimes call it the Trail of Death. There were so many Potawatomi Indians that they owned Chicago. And here's another little religious twist that I found out, is that as the Potawatomi Indians were making a treaty with the Chicago people, they said they would do it. This is a beautiful Potawatomi Indian bride. They said they would sell this land, but they wanted a Catholic priest. Amazingly enough, it's very strange, because so many of them were evangelized, and now there's in any tribe, in any group, there's fractions and divisions. And of course, here's Marquette again, going back. We also have another debate going on. I'm of the opinion that Marquette probably celebrated a Mass as he was paddling away, going down the Des Plaines River, saw a little hill, maybe a French fur trading post or whatever, and he could very well possibly said Mass right where our church is. This is a picture of one of the original families. If you come to our cemetery, you can see a lot of the old the graves, and that's the O'Malley family. Murphy family. There's still some Murphys that come to our church. That's a scene of the church from down by Archer Avenue, with the cemetery around it. I don't have a picture of the front just yet, but it says 1833. I always like to remind people to bring history alive, to realize, there's a beautiful picture of this winter. I always like to tell people, this church was started a year after the last signer of the Declaration of Independence died, Carroll, Charles Carroll. He died in 1832, and he was the only Catholic signer of the Declaration of Independence. Helped bring a spirit of openness, of religious openness to the early colonies because he was Catholic and because there was some persecution going on. There's some great sunrises. That was one I captured, the sun coming up on a foggy morning. And now here, this is an image of what I want to end with is we're planning a historic day, June 14th, and it's going to be a Civil War reenactment. But a Civil War reenactment without bullets. I'm calling it the cornerstone of history. Faith is the cornerstone of history. This is Bishop Purcell from Cincinnati. He's going to be speaking. He's from Cincinnati, pro-union, pro-Abraham Lincoln, anti-slavery. And so we're going to have two reenactors reenacting two Civil War era sermons. So it's going to be the ideas behind the bullets. Because Bishop Purcell, this is Bishop Verreau of Florida. He became Bishop of Florida. He really spent most of his life in Georgia. He defended the Confederacy, he defended slavery, and was very anti-Abraham Lincoln. So this is Jonathan Edwards, a Revolutionary War sermon. You probably may have heard of him in your studies. He's the one who gave this famous sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. So we'll start with him and end with Purcell and Verreau in a Civil War reenactment, which may have more sparks than any cannon fire you've seen. But that's what gets people interested in the history, and I think it'll be a wonderful day.